All right, Accel Workshop Recap, week 25. We were back inside this week at the Creek and Cave Comedy Club down in downtown Austin on 7th Street, right by your friendly neighborhood homeless shelter, which is a great club, really cool vibe, really recommend people to go there. It's on the same kind of strip and same area that all the clubs that have just basically descended upon Austin in the last few years. Near the Comedy Mothership and some of the sort of bigger names. The Velveeta Room is still down there. So in the career half hour this week, we talked about a lot of different things, but I started by sort of finding out, we had 6 new people, and so found out what their background was. I usually ask people, I start by saying, are you in stand-up? And we have one person who's very, very new to stand-up, and she's a senior and decided to start a late life career in comedy, which I think is great. But I just pointed her, I said, stand up, asking if she was, did stand up, and she stood up. And I'm like, oh, it's not a universal language, is it? So interesting new people, had 2 people from Brits, 2 Brits came in that were either visiting Austin, I think one guy lives here. And so, again, a range of people. We talked a lot about how to make a living in stand-up doesn't always mean that you're making a living in stand-up. It's harder to drag money out of stand-up these days. There's a lot more gigs, but most of them don't pay, or they pay very, very little. And so you need to look at your career in a way that you're basically developing entertainment assets as a stand-up. And that can be, as I talk about a lot, it can be your writing ability, so your scripting, and that's where I've always made most of my money. Is I'm good at writing jokes, especially clever, clean, idea-driven jokes. And those play well in certain places, and I've gotten paid to do that for a long time. I would never have been able to make a full-time living as a stand-up. Even back when I started, when it was much easier to get club work, and I did a lot of club work, but none of it was very high paid, and there were always better comics on stage, always better characters, just better stand-ups. That could go up and sell that. So I always knew that writing was my super asset. But everybody needs to think about what are your super assets can be sold in different areas of entertainment. It doesn't have to just be stand-up. So that can be your script. It can be performance skills, like if you're a good host, if you talk well, if you have a good voice. A lot of people hire stand-ups to do hosting, and you don't really even need to be funny. You need to be a good MC or a moderator, things like that. Or do trivia nights. There's lots of different things that you can do if you have performance skills. Then there's character. Is there something interesting about you in particular that makes you drop-inable, as I call it, in the media? So somebody can go, hey, I can put that person in a commercial, or I can put that person in this short, or I can put that person in this video or in this film. And that's what I talked about as an example of that. There are people that have moved up from Austin, they were Austinites at some point in their careers, and gone on to the media careers. And a really good example of this is Martha Kelly. Martha's a really good little stand-up. I don't know why I call her little, maybe because she's short. She's a really good stand-up. I always enjoyed Martha. She's very dry, very deadpan, very witty, and had some success in stand-up. Like there are times when I think she went to JFL in Montreal and did well. But even she said during an interview that she did on Andy Richter show that, is that his name, Andy Richter? Conan O'Brien's longtime sidekick, that she got meetings after that, but she didn't have acting experience and she didn't really know what to do, and she's very shy and introverted, and so it never went anywhere. But she's very, very quirky and very, very likable and has a good sense of humor and is a good little writer. Quit saying little. She's a good writer, and her style is very memorable. So memorable that Zach Galifianakis remembered her, and they had been friends for a while and knew each other from California, I think. And now the Blue just cast her as in a major role in his sitcom Baskets. It was on FX, co-exec produced, I think, by Louis C.K. And it was on for 2 seasons. And she didn't act, but all she had to do was basically be her deadpan self and deliver lines, very understated, very deadpan, and that character that she plays naturally, the character that she is naturally, plays really well in the media. From there, she has picked up tons of character work. She's been cast in, I put her resume and some links at the bottom of the Facebook group post of this. And I'll put them in here too on the YouTube post. But she's, 10 different major films, 10 or more TV series. She's the lead voice in some animated series. And she's done really well. And again, she never had acting training, but it's because she had a super asset that she developed in stand-up and used in stand-up. So anything like that you do really, really well, when you come to the workshop, I try to identify that for you, because I think that's one of the things I do well, is I do look at people and see what's what I call uranium that they have. And almost everybody has something. It may not be stand-up, it may not be, exactly stage, or it may be great performance, you can't write script. But knowing what your uranium is so that you know what you can sell is important. Then we broke into 4-person micro writing staffs, where everybody got a turn to run the 1-minute prepped monologue that they're supposed to bring, or to just bring something up, in the moment. It doesn't really matter. And the other 3 people are tasked as being your writing staff for 4 or 5 minutes. And to do that, you upgrade the script, you add jokes, you add tags, you add act outs, give any advice, you remove any problem areas or, down dysfunction that you see. You should be able to suggest that too. And you be supportive. And I also suggested this week to formalize our networking practice a little more. Everybody knows that in stand-up and in most careers, you have to make friends with people who already know more than you do or have better connections than you do. And that's a great way to get professional development, professional help from other people. What I suggested here was that everybody should exchange social media. They should contact each other on social media this week and offer to do something as a favor for the other person. I get a lot of people contact me because I teach classes like this and because I have professional credits, and they're asking for help. Almost nobody ever, offers me anything. And that's really what you want in networking. There are people that will help you just, because they like to help or they're compassionate people. And I help tons of people, but again, like if somebody offers me something, I'm much more likely to help them farther and be more into it. So practice your networking. Last, we all stepped up into the upgradium, the octagon of upgrade, and everybody did their 1 minute on stage. And I say attempted to do their 1 minute on stage. And I say attempted because I keep interrupting people. That's the way we're running these now. As soon as you do something that isn't quite working, I will stop you. And that can be script, like the problems in the script isn't clear, or the punchlines aren't strong enough, or with your performance, like if you're too muted, there's not enough energy, you're not doing real act outs, there's something in the way that you're speaking that gets in the way of the audience easily understanding what you're talking about. Character, like if people are doing good things on character, I suggest that they amplify that. And communication is the big one. Are you really communicating to the audience? A lot of people, when they get early in stand-up, they're going up and they're running script in their head because they're trying to memorize it, trying to remember what they wrote. They're nervous, things like that. But the core thing that makes stand-up work is active communication, like intense, deep communication between this person on stage and the audience. It's one of the magic things about stand-up, especially when it first started, that there was somebody who came from Hollywood, like Richard Pryor or Lenny Bruce or any of these sort of big names, and you could go to clubs and have an intimate experience with these people. Not a fully prepared, total monologue, inaccessible, just watching it like a play. They broke the fourth wall and they talked to you. And that authentic communication is one of the things that truly drives stand-up. And it's hard to learn, especially when you're nervous. So I keep pushing people to learn that. Again, this was an interesting week. New people. Next week we're going to be on Saturday again. I'm going to do outside. It looks like the weather will finally, go along with that idea. The club has suggested that a few times, and it's gone down into the 20s here in Austin, and then freezing rain. So hopefully this week will be nice. And come on down. The workshop's always free. It's always designed to, as I have started to explain to people, I want to do the workshop where I treat people like professionals. And I know a lot of people when they first start into entertainment or any kind of public performance, they're very tender. They're very, it's hard on your ego. It's hard to hear feedback. Most stand-ups never get active feedback. And I don't do this brutally, ever. But I also don't do it as soft as I do when I do something like teaching public speaking, which I used to teach to college freshmen. You have to be so soft in your feedback because they crumble so fast. These people are trying to get into stand-up. They're picking up more mature skills. And I'm trying to use the workshop like it's a professional environment. So give direct feedback, very specific about what you want. Ask people to make changes, give them notes, and then give them a chance to make those changes. And keep running it until they get it. It really doesn't matter if you have your time available in your slot and you have something that needs to be fixed, let's fix it. I've also been doing some one-on-ones with people, again, all free. I'm not interested right now in trying to make money off people who are not making money in stand-up, but giving people very direct, focused direction and coaching that will help them, break through some of these things that are holding them back on stage. Because again, I see a lot of people that are much funnier off stage than they are on stage. And stages are actually much easier to be funny on if you understand the format. You understand how to play to the audience. You understand how to perform to the audience. So there you go. That's a recap for the week. Again, check out Martha Kelly. Really fun. She has a Comedy Central half hour and a bunch of stand-up and a bunch of interviews. And she's very witty, very funny. So it's worth checking her out. And such a great story of somebody that's had struggled in entertainment for a long time. I knew Martha back, for years here in Austin. And, if you're just trying to do club work and you're a deadpan comic, witty, deadpan, one-liner kind of comic, that's a tough gig. Not a lot of audiences get that type of humor, and it's not like a big energy type of humor where you can play bad rooms. So I was super happy to see her get that opportunity, and she has crushed it. I've thought of her again this week because I was watching Fallout, the Walton Goggins show on HBO, and she had a role in there. And as part of the role, it's a science fiction. They showed her. They made a model of her head and cut her head off and kept it in a glass jar, which I thought was hilarious to see. But you never know. Keep doing your stuff, keep developing your assets, especially your super assets, and it might lead somewhere that you cannot predict.